Hi everyone, I'm John Webb, and this is a second in a series of Mean.io tutorials. The tutorial series is aimed towards new users of Mean.io to help you get up and running and familiar with some of the core concepts of Mean.io. And this video will be talking about how to customize your new Mean.io app. So last time we installed and set up a Mean.io app. I'm logged in here, I'll just log out. Basically what we're going to be focusing on is creating custom theme package, overriding default layouts, overriding the system view, and removing some of the default menus that come with stuff. So let me see here. If I'm logged in, we have some default routes or default menus here on I-18. An example articles, create new article. These come from core packages, example packages, etc. that inject themselves into the default menu. So we're going to look at getting rid of those without getting rid of the menu items, without getting rid of the menus, getting rid of all of this, and potentially getting rid of the default location of the admin menu, because it's kind of it's a place that you might want other stuff. It's a nice menu, looks great, but you might want your own thing there that actual users will see instead of just you benefiting from it. So I'm gonna hop out here and jump to the documentation. This is explained in here. There's overriding the default layouts. So basically what we're gonna do is something I like to set up with a new Mean app is basically a package that's going to deal with all this overriding, potentially also just sort of a general common package that all of my other packages can depend on. You know, I can ensure the CSS is loaded so that I can use some generic CSS classes, or you know, I can put directives in this class that are generic. Anything that I kind of, you know, want it as sort of a core or base for your app. So I started the server over here. I'm actually going to kill it, and it's you know, my Mean app. That's what I have in the background here. I'm using WebStorm. I should also mention that this is Mean.io 0.5.5 because things can change and things likely will change. The last video, things probably won't change too much in it. Setting up the app will probably remain similar. Sometime in the summer of 2015 is when 0.5 came out, and directory structures changed a bit, so if you watch anything or look at documentation before then, things might have changed a little. I'm just going to set up something in WebStorm here, just development server. It should all be all the basics, I think. Let's just see if that'll run it. Alright, so this is just going to run it inside of the IDE here. WebStorm has a tab for running. You can restart the server, you can stop the server. As a terminal that just opens up right in the directory path there. So I'm going to let that get started. Let's see. So first we're going to make a package. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it my theme. This is another one of the commands from the Mean CLI. It just scaffolds a basic theme for you. It's going to be inside. This is the project here. It's going to be inside packages, custom, my theme. Just as a warning, don't use hyphens in the name. It'll work. It'll seem to work. Everything will seem fine until you want to inject that into another package, and then you're going to run into problems. We'll touch it a little later when we talk about injection in another video, but just kind of don't use hyphens. So creates a lot of stuff for you. There's a lot of sort of boilerplate here. It also kind of comes with examples. You might eventually have an option to get rid of all the example code in here, but basically it sets up some routes and stuff. I'm just gonna get rid of it for now. We're not going to be doing much server side in this package, so we don't have to worry about that. So the server view, we'll just get rid of that whole thing for now. We aren't too worried about anything in the server at the moment. You will see there's the app.js file. This defines a lot of stuff about your app. This is where things are added in the menu, which we're going to get rid of because we don't want that here. You can see it's added to main menu. The main menu actually isn't rendered. The default menu, if you delete any menu, it goes to the default menu, which is actually menu, so it'd be as if you just had menu here. So if I save this, it's gonna realize that things have changed. It's gonna reload my app in the background here. And that probably said it needed to have an authenticated user. And actually none of this is loaded because the server has to be restarted if you add new files. I believe it knows what's there, but if it doesn't do a full restart, it's not going to pick up a lot of stuff. We'll see if that's right. If not, it might just be because I need to get rid of that. But in any case, while that's going, let's look at our documentation here. So to override the default layout. So the default layout is actually on the server side. This is what Express loads up in the first place, because Express is the entry point to your app. It loads up a page from the server. That page then deals with loading up Angular in the first place. So while for the most part when you're dealing with views, you're going to be dealing in public side code, at the very beginning it starts off in the server. So this basically says you need to go into your register function, which we just saw is over here in app.js. It's this guy. You're gonna want to app.setViews to the directory that this is in /server/views. So you're basically going to be overriding what system already does. So if we go to the core system packages app.js, we can see down here that it actually does this: set view path, template engine, default layout. Due to loading order, because we're going to depend on system, so if we go back into our app.js file, we can tell it to depend on system, which is the name of this guy, system. It'll make sure that this loads first, and that when we override it, we will, that when it's set, it'll be overridden to our server views. Now, we just totally got rid of that folder, but we're just going to copy it out of this one, because we're going to start with what it has. Let's see if we'll paste views in here. Sure, we'll do everything. And let's see, it's the easiest way to header, footer, default. So this is all still server-side code. This is where it loads up CSS files, footer CSS files, JavaScript files. This is all done on the back end, so anything you see here, you're not going to be modifying on the front end. It's all just in this. All the default header, now this is the head of the page. This isn't your actual, the header at the top of the page. So if we go in here, this is what sets a title. I'm going to say my app. We save that at a restart, and we should see that in the header now. You see my app. So we know that all worked out right. All this is still what it is. All of this is still front-end code. So, from here we can start editing all this. This is ours now. We don't have to worry about editing the core. All of these guys, it all points to our stuff. Basically, the entry point here is this index file. This uses Swig. It says, it extends the default template. So that's this. And this has a content block, the block for content here. It includes the foot file. This includes the head file. Since the index extends it, that's where the content of index gets injected. We have a section here with a data UI view. This is where Angular's UI router is going to be injected. So you always have to have a UI view whenever you hit a route so that it knows where to inject it. So this is actually right where our Angular code is going to end up in. So this is kind of the entry point for the front end code. So, or the public sort of Angular code. So let's look into that, because right now it loads. It's loading up from the server or system, public, views, head HTML, the index HTML, and that is there. This sort of just slash is loading this. This is defined by the routes in system. So down in most routes files are a bit more straightforward than this guy, but this is the part we're worried about. States for my app. It just says the home states URL is slash, and the template URL is system views index.html. So we go to the documentation, and it tells us here, overriding views. You may override public views used by certain core packages, create a custom homepage. You would create a custom package, modify the script, and its public folder like so. So let's just copy this stuff. This is not something you want to do. If you're familiar with Angular, if you call angular.module, you give the name of the module, and then you close parentheses, that's going to return you an already created module. If you then add a second parameter with an array of dependencies, that's creating a brand new module. You definitely don't want to do that. Mean does it on its own in the back end. So let's ignore that. We should update this. But it's going to be a running theme. Our documentation isn't the greatest, and we're hoping to update it and get things going. So we need to go into, we actually have our routes file here. So it's got a config and everything like that. Let's see what we copied out here. Config view path per, so once path, that's hard to read. So we need to pass a view path provider. Right now we have the state provider. Let's also toss in view path provider. And we will pass it in here as well. View path provider. Now we may need to make sure that what this is basically saying here, it was saying that you need to have system as a dependency. So that's still true, but you don't do it where I had it. So let me get rid of this broken code for a second. So the way that we add the actual Angular module of system as a dependency to our new thing is back in app.js. We've injected into the register function, so that kind of ensures that the module loads first, but it doesn't, and it gives you a dependency in the express side. But to actually load it into our Angular, there's a function called Angular dependencies, and it just takes an array. This is basically going to be your second parameter to the Angular module. It does it for you. That's why you don't want to do it yourself, because this is all run, basically your Angular module is created by mean.io. If you try to do it yourself, you're going to override it, and you're going to get rid of anything that you had before. You're going to end up with problems. So we're depending on mean system here. So that means we know we've got the view path provider and everything like that is going to be usable. So back to our routes. So view path provider, state provider, and we'll grab this. I'm going to get rid of this state because we don't have anything in here. And add that. So view path provider dot override system views index. So this is what we had. This is what we want to override, and we want to override it with my theme views. Let's just say index. .html. I actually have one right here. So, and it's got this stuff: example view from awesome package, etc. This is all just boilerplate. We'll get rid of it in a second, but let's just leave it there for now. We actually aren't using our state provider. We could delete it. If you're not going to add any actual states, then no problem. Boom. So now our homepage has this guy. This is now our brand new homepage. We can go in here and say, my awesome web app and whatever else we want here. And once it gets restarted, there we go. So now you have your entry point in here. Your home page is now going to your new theme package, or your core package or whatever you want. So next, let's look at these menus. So in the system, or in the server, we've got our layouts, we've got our header, our default. Let's see where it is. Got head right here. We include system views header.html. Let's change this to my theme. We'll have to copy this. or else it'll be pretty angry at us. If I hit save, it's going to restart the server. So system public, we're looking at views header. We're going to copy that. I'm going to put it in our public views. Just going to paste it in there. Whatever. Get. Now, this is using a header controller. So it would, because we're depending on system and system defines that header controller, this will all still work fine. We can hop over here. We see our header still exists. You know, it's not exploding. It's not yelling at us. But if we want to actually start customizing this, we're going to want our own header controller. So, you know, we can just copy it again so that we have the base functionality that it came with. We'll toss it in here. We'll call it my header controller. We'll make it dependent on my theme, or we'll make it a part of my theme. Let's see here. You know, all these are fine. They're injecting various things. I believe menus is defined in system, and that's fine. And because system's loaded first, you know, it's fine to have all this stuff, so it won't get mad at us. Then we just change this to use my header controller. Now let's see here. If we go back, just over menus, great. Let me close some of this stuff. Sure. Alright. So the header controller has this query menu function. And we can see here it's querying for the main menu. And it's binding that. Let's see. So it's just looking for main. Basically, it ends up putting this in this header controller menus.main. So by the same name there. Now if we go to, let's see, our app, what did we end up doing here? Maybe it is just menu main. I'll wait for it to refresh. Alright, so we can see my themes example page. If you notice, I don't have the pointer here. That's because this route is actually invalid. And if I click that, you know, it's going to give me errors, and that's because my route's wrong. So if I look at the console and click that, it yells at me. It tells me pretty straightforward. Could not resolve my theme example page from state home. All that means is I deleted that route. It doesn't exist anymore. Whatever. We're not, you know, we don't need this menu, but we're just going to use it for example. Basically, we'll call, you know, you can name your app whatever, you can name your menus whatever you want, but going with the theme, we'll just, I don't know if case matters, it probably shouldn't, but we'll just say my main. Now this is going to be gone once it refreshes, and then in our header controller, we're going to look for my main in all of these places. So your menu, you know, it might return different results based on, you have roles here that says who can see this menu. So this says authenticated users can see my menu. That's why you couldn't see it when I was logging, any of the stuff when I was logged out. So based on, you know, when you log in, it's going to requery the menu. When you log out, it's going to requery the menu. It wants to make sure that you're displaying the proper menu for the state of the user. So it just goes ahead and grabs it again. Now what's going to happen here is this is all going to, the menu's just going to vanish because we need to update our HTML here to be my menu, because it just tosses it right in with the same name. Now once we get refreshed, we'll see we have my example themes package. Now if I log out, it's gone because it's looking for authenticated. This is an array. We can add anonymous users there as well. It's going to go and refresh. And now it's up there, whether I'm logged in or not. So you can also add admin and stuff like that. The way that this all behaves may change, but currently these are based on roles. These roles may be based on circles at the moment, which we'll get into another time. So yeah, this is just an ORed array. If you are any of these, you know, these are just some of the defaultly defined things. There's also admin that's defined by default. You can also define any of them that you want yourself through the serverless package and depend on them. You can have different menu names. There's also, let's see, we'll just say title is link 1, I'll do a few here. Link 2, link 3. We just have link 3. Why is that? Maybe it doesn't like this. Wait for load up. Alright, there we go. Link 1, link 2, link 3. Alright, so now that we've replaced the menu with our own menu, let's look at our admin menu here. So on the side, we're going to move it from here, we're going to put it up here, we're going to turn it into a drop down like this one is. So let's do that. Let's move it first. So to move it, we have similar logic here. So we pull out our main, we're also pulling out our admin here. So we have this back in the, I should think this is how we iterated through our main menu. And we'll just do the same, but inside of a drop-down. So this is code for that. Basically, I've copied the drop-down class, the Bootstrap drop-down class here. That's here, and actually it's right down here. Here, I only show it if we are an admin. This comes from header variables inside of the controller. You can see they're set up here on login. They're set based on the mean user. This is a service that's injected in the core user package, or that's it's a service within the core user package that we were able to access because system depends on user and we depend on the system. Now, so we're able to just show this menu when is admin. We go through here, we're just putting the label admin on there instead of my username, and then we're iterating through it in the same manner as we did here with our main menu. And then, so if we save that, we come back over here, we'll see now we have an admin, drops down, modules, theme, settings, users, just like this over here. Now to get rid of that, all we have to do, we go to the default HTML. This is where our header was included, and it also includes the admin view. This file here is inside of the admin package. We just get rid of it, and suddenly this menu will be gone from the side. Now you can put you can look at that admin file, see how it did what it did, use it for your own purposes in your own package, etc. The last thing we'll do here, we'll just see where this is set up. This link, this says mean, that's just in our header right here. So we'll say my mean app. Let's save that, and there it is. So one other thing is you can change the basic theme of Bootstrap itself. The default colors of the different bars and things like that by going to admin themes, and you can just pick some of these. They'll change up some of the default, the primary, success, etc. colors. You can see them all listed right here. This uses boot swatch, so you can change those up that way if you want a nice easy way to just change some colors and stuff within your theme, without changing your layout. And that wraps up changing your themes and everything. If you have any questions about Mean.io, feel free to join the conversation in the Gitter chat room from the link in the documentation or the repository. You can click here, you can click here. Inside the repository, it's got a link. There's lots of people there that'll help answer questions. I hang out there, and lots of other people do. And we'll talk to you there.